Good evening, everyone. This is the Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 meeting of the East Long Meadow Planning Board. In attendance, Russ Denver, Cassandra Cherasuelo, George Kingston, Bailey Mitchell, Dana Fazio, and myself, Johnson Torsha. So our first item, approval of the May 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Everybody's, I think, had a chance to get a copy of those, take a look at those. Are there any changes, revisions, anything?
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion has been made. Seconded to approve the meeting, May 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed and abstentions, that carries. Okay, so under old business, Mr. Clerk, if you want to read in.
Case site 2022-07, request for a site plan review for the construction of a warehouse building and associated site improvements at 330 Chestnut Street. Assessor's parcel ID 18-38-0 on a 40.35 plus or minus acre lot in the Industrial Garden Park zoning district. Applicant East Long Meadow Redevelopers LLC, 1260 Stelton Road, Piscataway, New Jersey 08854. Continues from 9/20/22, 11/15/2022, 12/20/22, 2/21/2023.
Okay, so I think
I think we're missing one.
The date.
The last date.
so May 2nd.
May 2nd. Yep.
So I think first what we'll do is I'm going to have, I know Bailey just want to update us on this.
Yeah, so this is just for the purpose of the board of affirming the decision document that was prepared. There were a couple of motions that were unclear. I just wanted to clarify those. However, some things have come to light with the additional conditions, and the concerns of town staff were not necessarily addressed. And so it was kind of discussed between town staff and we spoke to the town attorney. And the recommended course of action at this point is for the board to consider reopening the public hearing for this case. And the reason for that is to allow for the applicant to submit a revised site plan and also a revised traffic impact analysis, so that the conditions can be reviewed by the rest of the town, and with the additional condition where the traffic turns right only out of the site, that would, in the town staff's opinion, disproportionately impact parts of the town, and those people did not have a chance to speak, for or against that condition. And the site, as it was proposed, did not include that. So I just and town staff and the town attorney think that it is wise for us to just reopen the public hearing so that it's clean and we allow, public comment for everyone at that point. That would also give us the opportunity to send out a new public notice. It's been continued so many times. We might get some new input on that just by doing that. And again, it would give us a chance as town staff to kind of guide the planning board in terms of the feasibility of certain conditions and how, that's technically applied. It's one thing on paper to say, do this. And then it's a totally different thing to, come up with the actual ability to do that if it's even possible. So, so that's the recommendation at this point. And if the board chooses to do so, the meeting could take place at the June 20th meeting, which is our next meeting. We don't have one on the 6th because of the town election. And so that would give us enough time to send out the notices that are required for reopening a hearing. And I do just want to acknowledge that Attorney Pill did send an email today asking for that as well, for the hearing to be reopened. And I didn't have a chance to send it to the board at his request. So he has supplied that with your materials today.
So in that case, because I just am looking at this now, I will recognize Attorney Pill to come up, just to be able.
Point of order. No.
I don't, Mr. Chairman, I don't think I need to speak now.
No.
Okay, so you think that satisfies?
I do want to express my thanks to Mr. Mitchell.
Enough.
Recommendation he just made.
Enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Enough.
Well, that settles that then. So we have in front of us a recommendation. We have some comments. Is there anything from the board? Opinion from the board of how we would like to perhaps proceed with this? This was put on originally to affirm or to look at just making sure that the conditions that were proposed at the 2 weeks ago that were voted on, that were put into this, making sure that those were correctly basically stated in the decision that Bailey had written up. So ultimately we can either keep it the way it is, or we can reopen it and reconsider it. And that's basically, I think, what's pretty much in front of the board right now. So I don't know how we would like to wish to proceed.
Another option would be to affirm the decision that we have and allow the applicant to submit a revised site plan, which would be a new hearing, not a reopening of the hearing. Because to revise the site plan, you have to have a new hearing.
You mean amended?
And it might amend it, yeah. Or it might be cleaner to do it that way. It's up to you. It's you're going to do it.
I think ultimately, I think something that would be the cleanest way. I know that there's also discussion about other accessories on the site, between the applicant and some abutters regarding potential changes that would involve also changing the site plan. So it's, potentially if we do consider either reopening it or having a new hearing start up, that would also be something that would probably have to be added into at that point, if in fact that's agreed upon by the parties. So I was definitely concerned about this particular condition when we discussed it 2 weeks ago. But I also am cognizant of that. We're sort of at this point in the process, and we have voted on it. So I don't know, Russ, Cassie, if there's any opinions that you both have. I know we're also down a member right now.
Go with the third one.
So, 6 or 7 years ago, both Mr. Kingston and I were members of the Charter Commission. And Mr. Kingston was a planning board member at that time, and he was an elected member of the planning board. This town had issues with a number of elected boards really kind of fighting with each other because they were all elected and they thought they could do this and they could do that. And one of the recommendations of that Charter Commission was to reduce the number of elected boards in an effort to harmonize the way the town operates and the boards kind of get along and they're all on the same page with everything. I see this as one of those circumstances. So I would be in favor of reopening the hearing if the town wishes to introduce their concerns that they don't believe they were able to introduce at a previous time. And I think that it is in harmony with the intent of that charter that did pass 6 or 7 years ago to create a little more cooperative spirit among the town boards. So I would vote in favor of a motion to reopen the hearing. In fact, I'll make a motion to do so.
Okay, a motion has been made. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. So this is on reopening the public hearing to allow this would allow for both public comments from the town, but also the public and other interested parties. So it would sort of reopen that process up for discussion again. Is there any further discussion on that?
The only question I would have is, that's not on the agenda tonight. Do we have an open meeting law issue?
That would be a good question.
Billy, you have a-
Bailey, do you have an opinion on?
I don't think it's an open meeting law issue. The case is on the agenda and the board can make a motion regarding the case if it's on the agenda. I know it says for the purpose of affirming the decision, but if the board feels that they need to amend that decision, then they have the right to make a motion to reopen the public hearing to do so.
Thank you.
Were you going to say something, Russ? Okay, so we have a motion. I would be inclined to reopen it personally. I don't know if anybody else has any other opinions on the matter or on the motion. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, any abstentions? So that motion carries 4-0. So this is reopened.
So just to clarify, I don't think that there was a date or a time set. Would the board like to do that tonight? Or, that could be something that, I can reach out to the applicant and see what they can do.
What's your recommendation?
I'll make a motion to reopen the hearing, reopen the hearing to be at 6 p.m. on June 20th.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? That carries. Okay,
For a 3-minute recess.
sure.
Motion to recess for 3 minutes.
Do I hear a
I'll
second?
second.
Seconded. Any discussion on the 3-minute recess? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we're recessing for 3 minutes.
There's only 3 of us.
Great job. Oh, okay.
No, the special permit,
Yeah.
the special permit he needs to vote on.
All right. So I think
He
we're
doesn't want
back.
to be a part of it.
George.
I'm going to recuse myself from the rest of the items on the agenda because of my lame duck status. I'm really only here because of 330 Chestnut I was involved with that.
So, George, just before you do that, so what about the request for special permit amendment?
For Pride?
Yeah.
I think that was before my time when that first went in.
Okay. All right, thanks.
All right. So we'll
Okay.
continue to go down the list, the agenda this evening. So
Case SPRW 2023-15, request for site plan review waiver for NV Legacy Sales LLC, a home office at 32 Old Farm Road, assessors parcel ID 42-33-11, located in the Residence AA zoning district. Applicant Vanna Albert, 119 Industrial Drive, PO Box 552, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028.
okay, is there somebody? Is the applicant or somebody representing? Perfect.
Momentarily.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
So if you can just kind of talk about what you'll be doing with the home office, and if there's any commercial vehicles on the property or anything of that nature, just sort of a little bit of an explainer on the business itself.
Sure. So MV Legacy Sales will primarily be an e-commerce business. So our main goal will be more than likely we'll be buying goods locally, and then we'll be selling them via an online platform, and we'll be doing mostly Amazon, fulfillment by Amazon. We don't plan to have any business operations besides bookkeeping done here. So we won't have any customers here. The only thing that will potentially hold here will be, like I said, goods that we plan to resell on Amazon.
Okay. And no employees or any like?
Oh, no employees. It'll just be my husband and I.
Okay, awesome. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, hearing none.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the application. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? That carries unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Definitely have a great evening.
You too.
All right, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Case SPRW 2023-16, request for a site plan review waiver for Can-Am Fibers, a paper broker at 105 Industrial Drive, assessors parcel ID 8-4-15, located in the Industrial Garden Park zoning district. Applicant Can-Am Fibers, Inc., PO Box 116, Wilbraham, Mass. 01095.
Okay, is there somebody representing the applicant? Just come up to the front. Just identify yourself for the record.
My name is Melissa Munier. I'm the controller of Can-Am Fibers, and I am a member of we have a realty LLC that's going to buy the property.
Okay, so just talk briefly about the business, hours of operation, things like of that nature.
So we're just in negotiations for actually purchasing the building, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't need to have a site plan review done before purchasing the building, because that's something we'd want to do now. So on day one, our business can open and operate immediately. We are a paper broker. We were located in Ludlow. However, the building was under renovation, so we had to leave. So we're currently at a temporary warehouse in Enfield, Connecticut. We have 2 office staff and 2 warehouse staff. We basically buy off-spec, overstock, any rejected goods for paper companies from mostly around here, like so out of Holyoke, Hayes and Paper, Alstrom out of Windsor Locks, and some other ones out in the New York area and Canada area. And basically we buy that and then we find another home for it rather than landfilling it. So we just accumulate material over time. When there's enough for a truckload, we sell it.
So there wouldn't be any changes to the building or anything if?
No, I mean, some minor, there's some offices in the middle of the whole thing that we might take down because we don't need them. So just make more place to store some paper. And then one of the garage bay doors is kind of low, so we might raise that.
Okay.
But other than that, there really wouldn't be any changes to the building. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7 to 3 at the latest. Usually we stop receiving around 2 o'clock. We have anywhere from 1 to maybe 6 trucks come in and out throughout the day, but all during business hours.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll make there's no other discussion. I'll make a motion to approve the site plan review waiver.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? That carries unanimously. Have a great evening.
Thank you, too.
Next item.
Case SP 2023-02, request for a special permit amendment to remove special condition 12 of SP 2012-04 HCRD book 19308, page 49, granted to 13 North Main Street, assessors parcel ID 27-37-0 and 27-38-0, located in the business zoning district. Applicant Pride Operating LLC, care of GPM Investments LLC, 1410 Commonwealth Drive, Suite 202, Wilmington, North Carolina, 28403, continued from 4/18/2023.
So I think I know we have a representative on Zoom, representative here. So I'll just sort of open the floor, whichever one of you wants to speak. Or do you want to? Yes.
So I just want to apologize to Jim. I didn't have a chance to send your email to the board until today. So they do have it in front of them now, but just so you know when you're presenting. So here you go.
Good evening. My name is Charles Rogers. I was here with you last month on this matter. which, as I recall, there were no objections to the application itself with respect to the clarification of the 2012 special use permit and its requirement that any change in ownership of the common stock of East Longmeadow Mobile only be undertaken with the prior approval of the planning board. And as I understand it, when the special permit was granted in 2012, East Longmeadow Mobile, that entity had not had any interest in this property for something like 10 years. But there was a request that we confer with town officials about traffic issues. We've done that, and Jim Channing is involved with, knows the details of that, and he can take it from here in terms of what's happened since our last meeting.
Again, Jim Channing, 246 Cottage Street, Springfield, Mass. On May 3rd, we met both the police chief, the fire chief, I believe the town engineer.
Yep.
And the planning director as well, with respect to some concerns that were voiced with respect to potential access egress issues as well as pedestrian. Went over the documents as well as traffic analysis that we've done before, traffic reports, accidents, the site plan itself that's been the same for 70 years. At that point, I don't want to misspeak, so I'll defer to the planning director as to what the conclusion was at what of the meeting was. But I can tell you that at that point, I don't believe that there were any other recommendations to be taken with respect to the site plan.
Yeah. So from the police, fire, and DPW, they had no concerns as to the condition and the site as it currently is. That was approved by the planning board and the special permit that we have. So there were no concerns on traffic noted by the planning board at the time of approval. So there was nothing brought up that was new. The site's not changing. So there's no concerns at this time with the current site. There's no way to reorient the site as well. We kind of looked at that in terms of the operation. There's no way to do that. So without, them acquiring more land and all that. So as it currently stands, that was the conclusion of the meeting.
So, Mr. Channing, thank you for coming. Always a pleasure to see you. So am I correct that at a planning board meeting in 2018, Mr. Bolduc, the former owner of Pride, was available and acknowledged the potential dangerous situation of a driveway into that site?
I believe that verbatim, but I don't want to speak for Mr. Bolduc, especially because he was the owner.
Well,
2 times ago, I don't represent him, but
yeah.
The minutes themselves indicate that there were a number of concerns that were discussed, including lighting, the dumpster getting picked up, as well as landscaping improvements. And at one point, I believe it was you, I don't want to misquote again, but indicated that, when there was a gas price war, essentially, there became cumbersome. There are a lot of vehicles. Mr. Bolduc at that point was quoted, and this is again from the minutes, indicating that at some point he would like to make a change to those driveways. Not that, again, I don't want to misspeak and get into semantics, not that he would at some point, but at some point that he would like to make changes. I believe that was the language.
And if I went back to those minutes, I wouldn't see the word dangerous.
I don't believe so. I can go back. In fact, let's not play games. I know I have it here, so let's just say exactly what it said.
Okay, thanks.
Again, this is quoting from the March 20th, 2018 adopted minutes by the East Longmeadow Planning Board. In the case of Mr. Denver, commented that when Pride responded to new gas stations, low prices with their own traffic at the rotary was cumbersome. Mr. Bolduc responded that he is aware of the difficult driveway issue and would like someday to make a change.
I knew there was a D in there somewhere. Dangerous, difficult. So I guess I'm addressing the difficult driveway. So I'll just repeat. I mean, this will have to be continued simply because of the fact that it needs 4 votes.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 of us here this evening, unfortunately. But I'm going to go back. Difficult driveway. What are you going to do about it? The former owner of the property acknowledged it's a difficult driveway. We all know which one it is. And as I indicated the last time, the crosswalk goes into the driveway, painted into the driveway, where kids cross the rotary all day long. So until I see something, or until there's a couple more members here who can override my concern, I'm not voting to amend that until that's addressed. So when you get a full board, and it can be 4-1 or 1-4, great.
So I think procedurally,
But
it probably would be wise to continue. It's just simply on the procedural grounds that we only have three members here this evening. And I would also say, I echo those concerns as well. I think all of us travel that area pretty frequently. A lot of people in the community travel that area pretty frequently. Understandably, it would be difficult to completely change things, but at the same time, I think there's some updates and changes that could be made to make it a little bit more safer, make it a little bit more advantageous for the kids that are, walking through the center of town after school, or other members of the public or other individuals that are driving in and out of that area. Even just simple things could potentially, bring up that level of safety.
so just simple things like I walk that at 7:30, 4 times a week, 7:30 a.m. Yesterday morning, there was a delivery truck parked on the sidewalk on Elm Street at your station. So either it pushes people into the station who are pedestrians, then have to deal with all the traffic within the station, which is crowded, and I'm happy that it's crowded because it means you're making money, or it pushes people out onto Elm Street. Very difficult situation. I want it fixed. I want some action taken so that it's not a pedestrian or vehicular issue. And I think it can be fixed. So, and if this is the way that I personally can try to get this fixed, this is what I'm going to try to do. So, because I think it's really for the benefit of the whole town. So, my opinion.
Kathy, not to put you on the spot, do you have anything you want to add? Or?
No, I would agree. I think it's dangerous for walkers there. I know in the morning and the afternoon, there's the crosswalk of gentlemen, but otherwise there's no one there, and kids will go flying across it, and it does go right into the driveway. And I've seen cars just whip around, so it is a safety issue.
So you sort of kind of, I think, heard some residents, but I think overriding that procedurally, even if these weren't concerns, we probably would have, I think, should continue it to the next meeting because we don't have a 4th member, procedurally speaking. So with that being said,
Just briefly, just for the record, but the only thing before you is this request to amend a Scrivener's error with respect to the 2012 special permit.
Mm-hmm.
Need for due process, as you can all appreciate. Just need to put that on the record because that's the only request before you right now. The only thing before you is with respect to that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to enforce a promise made by Bob Bolduc 5 years ago. And I do realize it's a different owner. And if this is the only way we can get that promise fulfilled, this is what I'm going to do. So, and it's only me. I'm one person on this board. So.
Okay. This is a public hearing. So I would also like to extend that to the public, both on Zoom and in person here. If anybody would like to comment, don't mind coming, if you don't mind, for the record. We've got a mic right there.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Phil LaRosa. I live at Harwich Road 61. The Pride Station, old mobile station, where it's located, it's not an asset for our community. And to enhance it, to make it another version, it's still at a dangerous intersection. Our rotary is notorious. And to have more vehicles in and out of there with multiple driveways, and this attorney and I have had conversations about it before in the library, the senior center conference room about all the entrances and exits there now. If they're going to be entrances and exits at a new configuration, they should be to the Springfield direction. So that would be northwest to the rear where the Ramitos building is now. They should drop back to that position coming in and leaving. I believe I counted and there were 5 in total. And that's dangerous. It's just too dangerous. This facility is not an asset to our town whatsoever. It was put there way back when, I would guess in the 30s, certainly maybe the 40s. Our town was much different now than it was then. And it's not an asset. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Any other comments or from the public?
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing until June 20th at 6 p.m.
Motion has been
Second.
made and seconded to continue the public hearing to June 20th, 2023.
Is there going to be a full quorum? Is there anticipated to be a full quorum? I know there's an election on June 6th, as well as the planning board typically runs through July. Is it not July 1st?
Planning board is appointed and not elected.
But as of July 1st, isn't that as of July 1st? If I'm honest?
Yeah, so the appointments are typically done, or the terms usually end at June 30th and then July 1st. So the current board members should be the current board members at that time. If it's continued again, maybe a different story, but so hopefully there's a quorum, but at this time, no one's, I don't know everyone else's schedule and no one's indicated that they would be absent. So.
Yeah, so, George has been recused, and I anticipate unless I'm in the hospital, then I'm going to be here at 6 p.m. on June 20th. You can guarantee that.
You can zoom in, John.
I could, that's true. I could zoom in. So as best as I know right now, should be the case. So, and of course, if something were to happen before then I'm sure it would be addressed, hopefully before the meeting, if anything, emergency or something crazy came up.
But at most, we can expect that 4 of the 5 members.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. Hearing none, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? That carries. Thank you. Okay. Next item, Mr.
Case site 2023-03, request for a site plan review approval for the construction of a recycling center and associated site improvements at Deer Park Drive, assessors parcel ID 11-6-4A, located in the Industrial Garden Park zoning district. Applicant Charles G. Arment Jr. and William T. Arment, 47 Warehouse Street, Springfield, Mass. 01118, continued from 4/18/23.
Okay. So, Jeremy, if you'd like to just kind of kick things off for us, sort of an overview of where we're at right now.
I just say thank you. Thank you very much for getting all this stuff together and getting it to us. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, on behalf of everyone. So to kick things off, and thank you, Mr. Chair. The first thing that was sent over, and I think it might have been the most important thing here, we have a letter from the Central New England Railroad explaining that the status of the tracks are being serviced, are being upgraded, the bridge crossings are being upgraded to be able to handle rail and including passings down south through Connecticut, and the above repairs can be done in as little as 2 years. If you're driving on 190, you can see the ties are ready to be put in. And it also addresses briefly the status of why the train can come up. Connecticut owns that land and a rail bank, and it was bought by Connecticut, put in a rail bank in order for trains to be able to put on. I'm not a rail attorney, but I'm a real estate attorney, and I know that any use that was given to other people that may have had a lease on that land, it's subject to what Connecticut wants to do with the land. And that is federal law on when rail can be used. So a rail bank, that land was being ready for former customers or new customers, which just to sell, can bring the rail back up. I know at the last meeting I said I would get a letter from the Connecticut Board of Transportation, and I was told that was not their purview. They do the engineering, but they don't have no control over what happens on the land. They get permitting. So that's why it came from the railroad itself. And if you go to the railroad website, you can see a plan showing where the rail's going, new stops. So it is happening, and and I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that. I also sent over a waiver of protective restrictions, which is something we talked about the last meeting. That when the Deer Park was put into place, there was some restrictions put on by West Mass, and it has now, certain ones were waived. And so I just sent that for board's information. And also a site plan was put on, was sent, and it has the trees that were inadvertently left off the initial site plan. And if we need to put that up, DHB is here and they hook that up. I don't know if we have the capability to do that quickly. And it's just adding on, I think, 5 or 6 trees. And finally, not finally, there was a question about the environmental concerns when the Concom had looked at this project. And the short answer is we believe so. The even shorter answer is we're taking care of it anyway. So in order to make sure that there's no concerns with Concom or the planning board, VHB is doing a request for determination of applicability. I know it's going to mess that one up. And the wetlands have been flagged, and there will be a new plan sent to the Concom in order to approve, and everyone can be happy and aware of where the project is going to happen vis-a-vis any wetlands. So that is in progress. The last thing I wanted to address is the traffic study, which you gave us some slight changes that we are going to make. But we wanted to pick the board's brain on if there's any changes or any questions you have, given the 2 years for the rail, that there will be a period where, in theory, this will be, there will be a going concern there, but not rail service. And so I will tell you a couple of things that the traffic study updated will reflect. Most of the trucks that were counted before were armament trucks already. So we talked about whether there would be an increase. It may be some increase, but it may not be the 100% increase we discussed, because a lot of those trucks are already coming up because there is a smaller scale operation. Also, before the rail goes and is able to really take the bulk of the debris, some trucks will come in full and will leave full. It won't be every truck, but some trucks will leave with certain types of debris from construction and demolition debris. So that is, we want to make sure the board is aware of that. But there may be some trucks leaving that the train will take the place of when the rail does go in. So let's see if there's anything. And finally, the earlier part of this meeting solidified why we had some questions with the Chestnut approval and now being reopened with the right turn issue. I just want to make sure we were accurately reflecting the board's concerns if there is more traffic right on Chestnut rather than going the other way. And again, as I touched on at the last hearing, there's no intention to ever go to that intersection, the Chestnut intersection. The preference and what will be instructed to drivers will be to go up Benton. So it should not matter to us, but we want to make sure that that is the opinion of the board.
I just had a quick question. I just lost it, but shoot.
I tend to talk long enough that people
So I have a question on the determination of applicability. Bailey. So how does that work in town? I'm obviously not a Conservation Commission member. And do they make a determination on whether they need to act on this? Do they act on whether they need to give this project an approval based upon whether it's applicable to them?
So basically there's, sorry, just in case. So basically there's positive and negative determinations, and the negative, or both of them kind of have various offshoots of like what level of impact they would have on the wetlands and what approvals they would need based on that. So if there's a positive RDA or a positive determination, they would have to potentially get additional approval or additional review done. And typically that's done through a notice of intent. So in this case, I don't know if they've submitted to if they submitted to the town. We haven't received their application for the town, but they could have through DEP at this point, because DEP also gets notified of RDAs. So, but at this time we haven't received the application. So I'll say that.
So is it fair to say hypothetically, we could approve a site plan waiver contingent upon approval from the Conservation Commission?
It has been done before. I don't think it's wise to do that or clean to do that in a case where it's involving, it's right next to the wetlands, or it's actually pretty close to a reservoir. So I would just say that it's probably better for the board to at least continue the meeting until the approval is done by the Conservation Commission, or the determination is made, at least, how much approval they'll need, or if there's, any impact.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could speak on that briefly. The reason that at the first meeting, I said that there had been some determination on this. There was a notice of intent that was put on by a prior applicant who was going to buy the parcels that my clients bought. And that was going to be, I don't want to mischaracterize, I think it was a gas transfer station. And that had gone through the notice of intent, which is a strict interpretation, and that typically is an order of conditions. And that process had gone through. Our consultants have said that it's not necessary here because of where the wetlands have been flagged, and that's where we are in the process. The wetlands have been flagged, but a new site plan has to be put together before it goes in. But there was a previous notice of intent, and this project is further back from the wetlands in that project. The only, to my understanding, the only thing that gets close is the paved driveway, which has a drain, so no water will be going into the wetlands area.
So can I ask another question? Sure. So there was some confusion in the traffic report about 2 or 60, or was it 60 additional kind of thing? So can you address that issue? Is it 60 vehicles with the existing operation plus to get to 60? Or is it 60 going for the commercial recycling, and how many more in the existing operation that's down there?
So the existing count says, as we said in the traffic report, was 5 to 60. So that's the existing number of trucks on Deer Park Drive. The project will add another 60 trucks.
So you're going from 5 to potentially 120.
Potentially.
Okay.
Not to undercut my consultant, but some of those 60 trucks are already armored trucks.
Yeah.
So that from what we've discussed with our clients, and and that 60 is based on the capacity of the facility. So per day, we really can't get more than 60 because it just can't handle that. But some are already going there. So you should not completely double it. I guess I don't mean to undercut you, just to clarify.
It's pretty tough when you guys can't agree.
I understand that. I don't think we're saying this.
And you're representing the applicant. You can't agree.
We're not saying a different thing.
And you see we're trying to get answers, trying to get information,
why not leave it to the
Yeah, some of the existing trucks, those are going to serve the future facility. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. So some of the trucks
that's better.
Well,
all right, thanks.
So I just want to quickly clarify, maybe I got it wrong, but the rail, so let's just assume it is hypothetically approved, would the kind of operation start and then a little bit after that the rail would begin? The rail wouldn't start at the same time, or the rail service wouldn't start at the same time as the facility opening up?
I think in an ideal world, the facility would open up before the rail opens up, but the rail is out of our control.
Yeah.
But in the letter, which is the information we have, is in as little as 2 years. And this project will take a bit to build, but from what I understand, it should be done before the 2 years. But how much of an overlap, or lack of overlap, there will be, I can't say for sure.
What would be sort of the impact of during that sort of gap period? Would there be a huge difference in the amount of trucks as it relates to not having that rail service for that year or two? Or
Mike might have a number, but my understanding is that in places the train, there could be tractor trailers leaving to take away the refuse that has not been sorted. So glass and cardboard, things like that may go off in the smaller trucks, so they call them C&D trucks. But the refuse that would normally go it should all leave on the train when that's in place. But some of it will leave in tractor trailers.
Yeah. So how much does what would be on the train? How much in a truck amount does that kind of represent? I guess I'm sort of getting at
How many trucks to each boxcar?
I know we have that information. I would have to look it up.
Kind of like best guess or the expert guess.
Well, this will be included in our updated traffic study. So roughly, I believe it was around 8 trucks per day that will replace the trains.
Per boxcar, per the whole kind of train system?
Yeah, to and from the site, I believe it's about 8 trucks per day.
Okay.
We'll have to clarify that.
Okay.
Yeah,
perfect. That's kind of what
the next submission we'll have a solid.
Okay.
And it should be a boxcar is about 3 tractor trailer trucks.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think that was basically my question. Do you have
the Lake Association had an individual prepare kind of a review of traffic issues and environmental issues. Did you have an opportunity to review that?
That was not supplied to us, as far as I know.
Okay. One thing they pointed out was the hours of operation. They said it was going to be 6 to 2 or 6 to 3. They pointed out the town bylaws require 7 to 7. So there might need to be a change there. And I'm wondering if we'll wait till we get to the public hearing. So,
yeah. So I think with that being said, let's open it. It is a public hearing. Let's open it up to, we have folks on Zoom, folks here. If anybody would like to come up and speak on the item, they can do so now. Yes. I think I saw her hand first. Sorry. If you can just come and just identify yourself for the record.
Yes. My name is Leslie Cunningham. I live on Shaker Pine Street. I'm the president of the Lake Association. We do have concerns so that we could get educated ourselves and not just come here yelling, we can't do this. It's without any kind of knowledge of whether there's an issue or not. So that's why we hired the engineer to take a look. We're very concerned about the Joga Reservoir because that directly feeds our lake, and we're concerned about runoff into the reservoir. Presently, there's an operation there now, and I've been concerned about it for the past year. There's all kinds of material pushed to the edge of the embankment that goes directly down to the reservoir without any self-fencing or anything like that. We did speak to Mr. Ament earlier this year and was assured that that would be taken care of. It hasn't been. And there's more build up there. So my preference is to speak to people and try to work things out, but I don't see that the place is being maintained responsibly with respect to the reservoir. And that's why I'm here today. I'm not against business. I'm not against him having a business there. But I have serious concerns about the water. It's very, very close to the reservoir. Probably should take a look at the area and make sure that it's not going to impact the waters there. The noise will echo down because it's a body of water, so there are noise concerns as well. Some of the things that the engineer recommended, fencing, might be helpful there, but I just wanted to be here and make our concerns known. Respectfully ask you to very carefully look at it. Thank you.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, so the determination of applicability process that was described by the planning director, does that give you some semblance that we are indeed looking at everything?
Yes.
Okay.
I expect that you would. I don't expect that you would just go through this and pass it without doing the due diligence and making sure that, that their plan is addressing concerns in the environment.
But it won't be this board. The town has a conservation commission and they will be reviewing that. Yeah.
Different links in the chain.
Yeah. That was very well said. Different links in the chain. Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, I saw there was, you had your hand raised second, and then we'll, John. Oh, if you,
Can I just say one thing?
sure.
So I just want to apologize to the applicant. I didn't provide them with that study or the comment that was made. But just so you know, for future reference, we do also post everything on our website. So that is on our website. It was just an oversight on my part to send it to the applicant. So I apologize.
Sure. Do you mind if I address the comments as you go? The concerns over the wetlands, as we heard at the first hearing, this will be helpful to it will stop runoff because we will not be curbed. There will be a drain, be a treatment system. This, if anything, should clear up the lake. I almost said will, but I should. I'm not an environmental engineer, but that is my understanding. That is what we were presented, and it makes sense to me. The runoff will stop, and rainwater will. There will be no runoff because it will be a drain, and it will go into the sewer system after being treated. And as for noise, this is an indoor facility. There may be some trucks outside, but the loading and unloading, the noisy things that will happen at this location will be inside. And it's by design because that's the best way to do it for the town. And anyone who lives nearby, it's an industrial area, unfortunately, but pains are being taken to keep it quiet and to be respectful.
Sort of just a very quick clarifying question. Is there, it may have already been said, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but I know there's some houses just over the state line there. There's vegetation or there's trees separating that neighborhood just to the south in this facility, correct? I believe there's a healthy amount of trees.
Over to the south?
To the south, that would sort of separate the two. It's not an open area. I could be wrong.
I believe that there is, but there.
Yeah, John Furman from NHB. The right directly on our property behind us is the Eversource easement. It's 150 feet, so they pretty much keep the vegetation low. And the southern border of that easement is the Connecticut state line. There is a buffer of trees. It's not
heavy.
It's not heavy, yes.
It's just there, but there are some trees.
There, and then it looks like it's a mowed field farmland from where I said, but there is some vertical vegetation on the Connecticut side.
Okay, thank you. So, ma'am, I think you were the second person that raised their hand. So.
Thank you, Angela Foss. I know that I had emailed this to you guys, but I wanted to give you a copy just to look at while you're here, just for you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to us again. So, yeah, we do have major concerns about this project. We had a drone actually fly over. It was kind of cool. We took a video, and everything is pretty much mowed down and just wide open to the reservoir. That's why I was really concerned last time, and I was very emotional last time. So I do want to apologize for being so emotional last time. We're building a house on the lake, so it's very personal to me, and I don't usually get like that. I'm a teacher, so I want to make sure you hear my apology. So anyway, I did get this information that the trees were cleared in August 2018. And I know you guys were told they were down way before 2005 when I was sitting and listening to the people speak. So I don't really know how to kindly word this, but I don't really know whether I believe much of what they're saying. But I do know that we did see that it's really like there is no real care for the wetlands taking place now. If you build a giant building up that they plan to, that they would like to build, there's rainwater calculators that will tell you how bad that is, because the rainwater coming off of even 1 inch of rainwater is thousands of gallons of water pouring off, and there's no way they could actually keep those thousands of gallons of water from going into the reservoir and ripping up whatever they have in storage there. I also love Mr. Denver's question.
Don't thank me. Don't thank me for anything.
So I was listening last time about the trips. What is a trip? So I was just hearing the gentleman say that a trip is basically when you're coming in with a load and you're leaving with a load. So even the 60 trips they're talking about, and you're doubling that, you're really actually quadrupling that because they're calling it a trip. They don't mean one way. It's a trip. That's the real reason. That's why they're using the word trip.
And I ask questions.
I like
simple. I ask questions simply because there are people who might be watching on TV.
Yeah.
And as Mr. Kingston, who recused himself, is fond of saying, 20 years from now, if someone wants to know what the heck we were thinking when we voted on something one way or another,
right,
they're going to be able to see that we asked questions, we were engaged. We actually gave it. Well, don't thank me. That we gave it due consideration.
Yes.
So I don't want anyone to think that we just, approve without putting some thought, into all this.
And I understand the only reason it probably has really gotten as far as it has is its location. It's southern, eastern, East Long Meadow. And if this was truck traffic or train that was going north, it would be a totally different situation. This train is not going north. It's not going to Springfield. It's not going to East Long Meadow. And I have lots of friends who live near Long Meadow, so I know how they would be. They would be not happy about it. It's going south. Not only is it going south, but it's heading towards our lakes. And I know that people have said, it's sparse with trees and all that. It's a mowed field, which is going to eventually, the plan is, have an 800,000 square foot warehouse there. And people live on both sides of this. There are 2 lakes. They live on both sides. So not only, I mean, I can just imagine it will probably only take one spill, one simple mistake that these people do with whatever there's a lot of liquid. I read about the liquid that they'll be processing. It's not going to take a lot to destroy our entire ecosystem. We're talking about, I don't know if you've ever really been down to our lakes, so we welcome you, but we have eagles. I mean, who gets eagles? Like nobody. But we have eagles that live and fish in our lakes. And it's a very fragile system. We've been in litigation for an entire year with Win Stanley, who wants to put in that 800,000 square foot, both planning and zoning and wetlands. They want to put this 800,000 square foot building in. And we have been paying out of our pocket for that to stop. And we're praying it will. But then this is just adding insult to injury. And I get why, because the location is perfect. It's just going to really bother, not be anything that's going to concern your constituents, but it will really just one little spill do a number on our lakes. And like I said, it's interesting to check on the stormwater, but I think it's like 1,000 gallons or just like 200 square feet of roofing that will just pour off the surface of any. You can just find the kind of it's a lot that would just be pouring onto those buildings. That one building, however big it may be. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jump for a minute. I'd like to address those comments, particularly one that questioned our credibility. We take that very seriously, which was about the tree clearing. There is no tree clearing that occurred. After the last meeting, we have a software that has historic aerials.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Would you be able to speak outside, sir?
Can somebody back on the phone?
What you want?
Thank you.
Shoot.
You may proceed.
After the last meeting, when this issue was brought up, we have a program that actually has historic aerials. And we went back, I believe, to 1990 when this was a field. There were no trees there. There were trees to the south of us where the Eversource easement is currently. Those trees were cut, not by this project. And as I mentioned before, we were the designers of the extension of Deer Park. I was physically on site when this road was built. There were no trees there. So a lot of people look at an aerial and see green and interpret that to be trees. There are no trees. No more cut down. As far as the stormwater goes, the comments that were made about the thousands of gallons of water coming off the roof or the impervious surfaces, that is correct. We design stormwater systems based on peak rate of runoff, cubic feet per second, not so much gallons. And this site is designed, and the collection system is designed so that it reduces the runoff from this site drastically over what is coming off there now. Right now, it is uncontrolled. It's a gravel surface. All the water from that gravel area, when it hits it, runs towards the wetland. Under this development, we are paving that area and we are shutting that off. Our stormwater management report shows that whatever the rate is under existing conditions, it's zero under proposed. It's zero water going into that reservoir. And then all the water that was going there is being diverted into a treatment system and is being infiltrated into the soils. And before they're infiltrated, DEP has a requirement for treatment. We meet every DEP requirement for treatment. So I just wanted to clarify that because the previous speaker seemed to question our integrity and our ability to design things. I just wanted to put that on record. Thank you.
To echo John, his aspersions against my character, I take very seriously. Distressed to hear that, and I was also distressed to hear about a drone flying over property, which not sure if East Long Meadow has a bylaw against that, but
We don't,
yeah.
to my knowledge.
And that is, but that's airspace that should not be violated. It's disturbing. As John said, what is happening now is irrelevant and will be much better than it would be even if it was natural. When the stormwater systems are put in, and just a final comment on Enfield. I don't believe Enfield has invited East Long Meadow in the participation process on the 800,000 square foot warehouse. I feel like this is getting pulled into that discussion. And I don't think that that's relevant.
I think there was another gentleman who had raised their hand earlier. I'll recognize them.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Mike Bloodwick, I'm a town council in Enfield, and thank you for having me back. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm not questioning anyone's credibility. You got the letter from the railroad. Just want to be, so folks know, if you actually walk the line, the East Windsor Bridge alone is not, would be shocked if it was ready in 2 years. And certainly the Enfield Bridge, again, unless they start working on it tomorrow, those trestles or those tracks that you see along Broadbrook Road, they've been there for 20 years. So if you're making a decision based on information, again, what you're given, so it's the information you're given. Maybe I'm just suggesting, I don't know if you can do this as a condition until they actually open up that railroad, which again, 2 years is certainly aggressive. I can tell you there's folks like myself and Enfield, we're going to try to continue to fight it. Maybe we can't, but we're certainly going to try. And so again, just as you make a decision, what conditions you may or may not put on it. 2 years, again, I'm not questioning what he got. Not all, I'm not questioning his credibility. I'm just saying if you actually, I walked that line myself, and it's 2 years is certainly, I think, aggressive in my opinion. And again, the issue is, for us, again, I know the area well, and I actually was over there after this last meeting. Those trucks are going to go right, and they're going to go into Enfield, and I know that's not your issue. I find it hard to believe they're going to go left very often, then go through Bay Path and go through the center of Long Meadow to try to, maybe if they're going north, maybe. But I understand traffic flow and I understand where it's going. And I'm not sure exactly what the traffic study showed you. And so that's for us, our concern, obviously, and appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm not speaking against the project. Again, I don't know all the details. I just know the impact that we're going to get. Again, you asked me this question last time. If you actually went down Taylor all the way to Hazard clearly is made for truck traffic. Fair question. But the GPS will take them to some of the spider streets that we have, which clearly aren't, made for truck traffic. So again, not your issue, it's ours. But again, appreciate the opportunity just to express our concerns as a neighbor. I've always worked well as a counselor with East Long Meadow. I think you folks have been great. Your other leaders in other departments, as you mentioned. So again, even if suggestion that maybe, again, if the train doesn't come in 2 years, there's some sort of condition it can be. I understand if you approve the application, I get it, but maybe some look back condition that, because again, if I understood it correctly, I'm sorry, I'm not an expert with tonnage, but if a one train they mentioned is a tractor trailer, that's a lot of traffic. Mm-hmm. So I'm not, just doing quick math in my head. And so I might make a fair request if actually the train doesn't go in to kind of relook at actually how that traffic, maybe it is going left and going through your part of town through Long Meadow, which again, I find hard to believe it would do that, but maybe it does, and knowing how that road works too, it's not great for truck traffic. And so again, we're going to get it either way. So I'm just saying when you make sure that when you make your decision that all that information, and I'm not questioning anyone's credibility, but I've walked the line myself because we're against opening up the rail. At least I am. I don't speak for myself. I want to be clear. I don't speak for anybody else. And we'd love to see a trail again to connect to your beautiful trail that you already have, which many of our residents already use. So it's one of those we've heard, hey, we'd love to be able to connect with East Long Meadow and that. So, hey, strange how things happen, but again, I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to speak. Again, really appreciate it because again, you don't have to. I don't live in your town. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you.
So go ahead. If there's anyone else.
I was going to see, is there anybody else? I didn't see. If you'd be able to just come up and identify yourself.
Hi, Lori Parker, 105 Cottage Road, Enfield. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention on the last few comments. I don't think anybody was trying to discredit anybody about those trees, but I have a picture right here. You just pulled it up on Google Maps, and I believe it was from 2017. It's all trees. And in regards to the drone footage, the operator always checks for no-fly zones before he does fly over. And I did submit that video. It's in the record. If you want to play it, it's there for all to see. And the other thing, in regards to the warehouse, we would have loved your input on that. And Enfield did send, or actually the developer did send a notice to abutters, which was received by East Long Meadow. I did talk to the office about that, and they had no comment. But it certainly will affect you, and that traffic certainly will be coming this way.
We've got one for you as well.
Oh,
We have a 565,000 square foot warehouse going through this process right now.
I've been following that, and I will be coming to hear how that works out.
Oh, good.
We just got a 500,000 square foot warehouse, and now they're going to add another 819,000 foot square warehouse. So there's going to be a lot more traffic coming in both directions. In general, I'd like to ask that this hearing be kept open, one, because the developer hasn't been able to see the engineer's report that was done, and there's a lot of information in there. Certainly would like to get that reviewed. The other thing is Carol Hall, who spoke last time about the rail, wanted to be here, but she got stuck at the Capitol, and she'd like an opportunity to respond to that rail letter. A couple other things I just wanted to mention, that rail lease expires in August, and if it doesn't get renewed, I don't know how they'll be able to do the work on it. So again, I'm just asking if we could keep this hearing open so that we can let them have the opportunity to look at the engineer's report. So there's a lot of information in there. And thank you for letting us attend your meetings.
Thank you. I think that does bring up, I guess, a procedural thing. I know we only have 3 members currently present. So being that, the same issue that was presented at the last agenda item, I think would be also relevant to this agenda item. First, just want to quickly scan. Is there anybody else that I've missed that would like to speak?
Hi. Linda Ostapoff, 109 Cottage Road, Enfield. I'm sure you're tired of hearing from us already. So I'm just going to say this very quickly. With all due respect and not questioning anybody's integrity, the report that we've had prepared by the Lake Association has many important sections, but I want to mention the stormwater management section 13 through 20, and erosion and sediment control during construction 21 through 24. And with any big project, I think it's entirely possible another set of eyes may come up with something important. And I'm hoping that when you have a chance to review this section, that you would be especially careful to look at these points. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, public or Zoom? We have some folks on Zoom. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
I'd just like to ask a process question again of Bailey. So will this require a review from the Conservation Commission?
I've spoken with DEP, and they've strongly recommended that we do it locally as well as through DEP. So I would hope that we can do that through the town as well. I don't see that. I don't see it being an issue for us to have it done as an RDA. It seems pretty clear to me. And if they have done,
some conservation work on site before, then it should be a relatively easy process for them to do that. So.
And what is RDA?
Request for determination of applicability.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So,
and just to, as Bailey knows, it requires, I just have a letter. It's essentially a site plan, but showing a wetland.
Yeah. So conceivably, the Conservation Commission can also put on conditions.
Yeah, they do.
So they can put conditions on, this board could put reasonable conditions on a site plan review or site plan approval as well.
Yeah.
So I certainly would ask that Attorney Levine be given the report that was prepared by the Lakes Association so they can certainly respond to it. They probably will need it during their conservation meetings as well. So I appreciate you putting it together and sharing it. So that's good. So based upon that, I would make the recommendation that we just continue this hearing. Do you have a recommended date, how long it might take?
Yeah, if we have the submission before next Friday, we should be able to schedule that for the June 14th, I believe is the conservation date. So that would be before the next planning board meeting on June 20th. So I would say that's sufficient time for.
We could do June 20th, our next scheduled.
And I just got a head nod from VHB, from John, that the RDA will be in, the application will be in before next Friday. So we should get us on to the 14th.
Just a process question. So do you wish to meet with this planning board the same evening we are reopening the public hearing for 330 Chestnut Street?
Let's see if I get a nod from the back. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll make a motion to continue until June 20th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
And I will second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstentions? That carries unanimously. So we'll be back here.
Thank you all very much.
Anyone who gave public comment, if you could just sign the sign-in sheet over there, that way we have the correct spelling for your name for the public record. That'd be great. Thank you.
Awesome. So I think we have just a quick, a director's report. Bailey, is there anything to kind of report on?
Yeah, so George left, so I don't know if there's much we can do on this, but we could take a recess and I could call the town attorney to see his recommendation on the 330 Chestnut situation, whether we're voting on or whether we're having a public hearing for just the conditions or reopening the whole thing. Because I think if we reopen the whole thing, we would have to technically revoke the decision that was made. And we can't do that without the other two members here either. So, yeah, I mean, I would just,
I'm okay with getting an answer tonight, but I also want to be respectful of people's time.
Do it whenever.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have to do it tonight.
Okay.
All right. In that case, the rest of my report is somewhere written down. So just another reminder for the conflict of interest training. If anyone has not submitted that to me, please do. Due June 1st. So we have 2 weeks. The last thing is the site plan review amendments that I brought to the board went before the town council. They referred to the planning board again. I was thinking of holding off on that for the next meeting. Mainly because of the public hearing notices. I have to send those out and then I get billed for them. It's the end of the fiscal year. So I kind of want to wait for that. So I'm thinking the first meeting in July, which is the only meeting in July. So if that's okay with everyone.
I don't have much of an opinion.
Fair enough. But yeah, I think that's everything that I have, unless I forgot something. I guess I could publicly announce it now. Our department is moving downstairs to where the old finance office or accounting office was. next to the assessor's office. The public access to that will actually be through the old assessor's office, which is going to be the new building office. So both building and planning will have like the same entrance, and town hall downstairs, which is great because we don't have an elevator upstairs. So it's accessibility and all that good stuff. So the move is scheduled for Monday. So we'll be kind of out of pocket next Monday. And anyone can reach us via email still. I'm actually working remote, so that's good because I'll actually be working more than I would be if I were in the office. So, and then, yeah, that's pretty much everything that I have. If there aren't any questions.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
We don't need the mic anymore.
Make a motion. Motion to adjourn.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nope. Good night, everyone.
Perfect.